In today's video, folks, we have some uniquely Canadian treats that may be hard to find outside of Canada. Okay, folks, here we are. We're going to find some snacks in here that are unique to Canada. And we're at the Sobeys grocery store, First Lake Drive. Okay, folks, I'm just going to give you a quick glimpse of what we're going to be going over. And then I will go through them one by one with you. But we have lots of uniquely Canadian treats here, and I believe this one here might be even more common on the East Coast. Folks, I'm going in. Okay, folks, I'm looking forward to this one. I've never done, well, I've done a review of treats, Christmas treats, and had a lot of fun doing that one. I thought it would be interesting. I used to go to Florida twice a year, and every time I was in Florida, one of the things that me and my family would like to do would be to go to the grocery stores and look at all of the different items there that you can't buy up here in Canada. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a flip on that and go over some foods that you may not be able to buy outside of Canada. Now, if you live on the border states, if you live in the US and you're on the border states, then possibly. And also some of the British Commonwealth countries like Australia and New Zealand and England may have some variations of these bars. But let's go through them. I don't know where to start. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these two for last because they are my favorite. And they're pastry. One's a pastry and one's anyway. This is exciting. Let's start off with the chips first, and then we'll get into the chocolate bars, and then we'll get into the two pastry treats. These, growing up, were my favorite chips in Canada. Now, back in the day, they used to be Humpty Dumpty, and they used to only come in a small bag. You could never buy them in the big bag until around 1999 or 2000, somewhere around there. One day, I remember my daughter coming back from the grocery store with a friend of mine saying, we found roast chicken chips in a big bag. And I still, even though Lay's has these, I prefer the Old Dutch brand, which used to be Humpty Dumpty, but they were bought by Old Dutch. Let's go in and taste it. My favorite chips in the world. Let me see if I can find a Wish chip. Now I'm going to have to do too much digging. Here we go, folks. So the difference between Old Dutch and the Lay's ones are these are a little bit thicker. But I find the flavor is so much closer to roast chicken than the Lay's ones are. They're delicious. And by the way, folks, you've watched my videos before. These are all Brady scores. Every single item I'm reviewing is a Brady score item. And Brady, how many thumbs up do you give it?
10.
10 thumbs up from Brady. Cheesies. These are by Hawkins. Canadian company. Started these, I think these go back to the 50s, maybe even longer, I'm not sure. But what's the best way to describe them? If you're outside of Canada, I can't remember the company that used to have them, but there used to be a chip out called Crunchits, and I think there's probably still out now. These are similar to Crunchits, and if you like Crunchits, multiply that by 3 or 4 about how good these are compared to Crunchits. I'm just going to take one out. I don't eat chips and cheesies and things like that anymore. So I'm not going to eat all of these. I'm giving them to my daughter who lives upstairs. But I'll taste one. Now listen, folks, you might hear the crunch. It's a cheesy. Thing about these, folks, made with real cheddar cheese. If you ever come across these, this will be the last time I say that. This applies to everything. These are delicious. And if you love Crunchits, you will absolutely be thrilled. You'll do cartwheels over these. They're delicious. Now, folks, we're into the chocolate bars. Now we're talking some serious business. This is by Cadbury, which is an English company. So that's why I say there may be some of the Commonwealth countries, there may be some items here that you may be able to get in those countries. But Cadbury has this bar out called a Crunchy, and it's a honeycomb layer on the inside and then a layer of chocolate. Now, it's not a real honeycomb, I don't imagine, but it's one of those bars that you take a bite out of it and then you just let it melt in your mouth and it dissolves. This is how I eat a Crunchit. So I'm not going to bore you with me sitting there letting it dissolve in my mouth. But what happens is this honey layer in the middle, it just evaporates. Like once it gets in your mouth, that starts to dissolve. And you've taken that flavor. It is delicious. Crunchy. Plastic bag for these. Don't want to waste, so we'll repurpose all of these. I'm going to save my favorite one for last. Caramel. I think in the U.S., I looked up today, the U.S. had a caramel bar. They purchased the rights to use the Cadbury name in the U.S., so the bar is different. And I think they branded it as Caramello, but it apparently, from what I've read, it's not the same. So these are, I'll take the whole bar out so you can see what it looks like. Again, this is the Caramel bar. I remember the commercials, I think from the 80s or the 70s. I forget who the guy was that was doing it, but he would come out and then he'd go, "Caramel, you old smoothie." But here's what they look like. Little pockets. And what I like to do is take one of these off. And what they are, it's a chocolate layer, and inside is caramelly goodness. Look at that. Love the caramel bar. My favorite. Wonder Bar. So another bar by Cadbury. Wonder Bar. I remember when these first came out years ago, and actually they have them, see the Viking helmet there? Because they used to have the commercials and they would have somebody coming out with a Viking, dressed up like a Viking, going Wonder Bar. And that was the commercial for the chocolate bar. To describe this, and I've never ever bought in a package where I don't open it up and the caramel is already spilling out of it. These are delicious. And what it is, it's a layer of chocolate, and then inside there's a layer of caramel wrapped around a nougat, peanut buttery nougat that's in the center. The closest thing I think in the States that I could relate to a Wonder Bar would be a Fast Break bar, but this is crunchier than a Fast Break bar, and a little bit more peanut buttery than the Fast Break bar. So here we go, folks. Let's go in for a bite. So you can see that layer of caramel and then the nougat in the center with little crunchy pieces in it. Delicious. One of the best bars around. I love Wonder Bar. That's my favorite bar in Canada. Okay, folks, let's put this in the plastic bag. There we go. So here we go, folks. We're into the baked good items. This is a butter tart. So this one is a raisin butter tart. You can also get pecan butter tarts, different flavors. But what it is, it's a pastry. And then inside is creamy, delicious, almost caramelly. I don't know how to describe the flavor, but let's take a bite and then you'll see what I'm talking about. Look at that. These you definitely do not want to eat all that often because it's basically just sugar inside. But does it ever taste good? So decadent. Butter tart, another dish that's unique. It was invented in Canada, I think in Ontario. You can get them all over the country. So all grocery stores, you're going to find butter tarts. I actually got this one on the checkout. I had a whole box that I was buying because that's the only ones I thought. Then at the checkout lane, there was a little basket there that had individually wrapped butter tarts. So I put that back in so I wouldn't, because if I bought the package of those, I'd be eating them all. I wasn't quite as fortunate with the Nanaimo bars. Here's my favorite of the cooked snacks. So this was invented in, of course, Nanaimo, BC. These are like heaven in your mouth. It has like a chocolatey layer on the bottom, so chocolate with coconut. And then in the center of it, it has a custard layer. Right there you can see. And then on the top, a layer of milk chocolate. No words can describe how good this tastes. But here we go. When you bite down, you get that crumble on the bottom with the chocolate and the coconut and the graham wafers, and then you have that custard layer and the chocolate all mixing together. It's kind of like a chocolate bar, but it isn't. But I think this is the closest thing I've ever eaten that's baked that tastes better than any chocolate bar I've ever eaten, and it tastes similar to a chocolate bar. So there you have it, folks. These are the snacks that I like, that when I travel to the US, I can't find these. And I hope you enjoyed it. And let me know in the comments below if you're not from Canada, or even if you are from Canada. I'll have two categories here. If you're not from Canada, have you tried these before and do you like them as much as I do? And if you are from Canada, what's your favorite of the items that I've reviewed? I'm interested to hear your comments on what you think of these snacks, whether you're in Canada, outside of Canada. If you're from part of the Commonwealth countries and you happen to be watching this, shout out down under to Australia. That's one place I'd love to go see, except for my fear of flying. But can you get these? I heard in Australia you could get the caramel bar, and it was called caramel, but it was a white chocolate instead of the milk chocolate. That would be interesting to try. But maybe they found that if they don't sell it anymore, maybe they found it was just too much sweetness in it. But to me, I think that would be delicious. So thanks everyone for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you're new here, there should be a playlist popping up in a video that YouTube thinks that you may like. If it is something that you like, then please consider subscribing. We'd love to have you along for the ride. Thanks everyone. Jamie, signing off. Brady scores for all. My little friend, you're my nemesis. So good.